436, 490, 508, 515, 516, 518, 520, 542. It's about 76 of those. You can go to the UN website and you can check all that data and see each one in details. None of those resolutions have been implemented. You've heard about the massacre where 60 people, men and women, and many kids were killed in Lebanon 2 weeks ago, big massacre. And also, by the way, the bias news always comes out that it was missiles, that the Hezbollah had missiles in that house or around that house or in that village, and all that information, nothing but a cover-up. The big question I want to ask you before we go into a commercial, we're going to take a commercial in about a minute here, but the big question with all of that, as a reaction not just to this war, but in Wichita, Kansas, are we immune? The question is, what can we do in Wichita, God forbids, if a disaster hit Wichita? Are we ready? We're going to ask this question to a person. I think he might be the only guy that I know personally that might have that answer. So stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of questions and answers. Please feel free to call us at any time. Also, and you're going to see that phone number. It's 267-8855. See you in about 2 minutes. Good. Okay. Okay, good evening and welcome back to the KCTU Channel 5. We have a dear friend of mine, a person I know for a long time. We have been together. We've done quite a bit of shows together. The only Randy Duncan, Sedgwick County Emergency Management Director. Hi, Randy.
Yes, hi. Good evening.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
I'm not going to ask you, are we ready? Because I want to leave this to the end. I just want to start with you and your management. What do you guys do exactly in the county?
Basically, emergency management, the overall process that we do consists of 4 major steps. We look at the issues of mitigation, which are those actions designed to prevent the occurrence of a disaster, or if we can't prevent it, to make the impact less. Preparedness, which is getting ready to respond to a disaster, response to the actual disaster itself, and then in the aftermath of the disaster, recovery, which is returning us back as close as possible to normal after the impact of a disaster. Those are the 4 major things we do.
So talk about each one in little detail.
Sure. Mitigation can be a couple of different things. For example, mitigation can be structural. For example, we can go out and build levees or dams to help us with flooding issues. Mitigation can also be in terms of programs. For example, the floodplain program here inside Wichita and the Sedgwick County, if you build a home in an area that's likely to flood, you're going to be required to elevate it 1 foot above that base flood elevation. Preparedness consists, in my mind, of 3 major things that we do. We train, we simulate, and we prepare for the roles in the plan that we do. So those are our 3 major activities in terms of preparedness. Response, as I refer to it, is the red lights and siren end of the business, if you will. That's the actual law enforcement, fire, emergency medical services, whoever responding out to immediately deal with the emergency situation. Recovery also is very, very important. That's the point in time where we get to take the community after a disaster and return it to at least as good as it was before, and hopefully, if we've done well, maybe a little better.
Good. I do have a lot of callers. Tim, good evening. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamatullah. Salamatullah. Yes, go ahead, please.
I'm very thankful to hear the information that you shared, the more objective information that you shared at the beginning of your program. Understand? Youth. Okay, and I will be succinct.
Okay.
That makes me want to ask you a question. Perhaps you have opportunity to elaborate this evening. Perhaps not. If not, I understand. Youth. Okay, and I will be succinct.
Okay.
We were the first dishonest rationale our government presented to us for reason for invading Iraq was weapons of mass destruction and an imminent threat to the United States, national security of the U.S. Once that was proven by people after the invasion, after that was proven to be a lie, the next rationale that we have been presented with as our purpose in being there is the democratization of Iraq and the ultimate goal of the democratization of the Middle East. Now, Condoleezza Rice has said repeatedly recently, it's time for a new Middle East. Well, that's easy for a Westerner to say. Now, you said in your opening, democracy, where is this leading? Democracy? Forget about it. Okay. Now, I believe you and I are very much in agreement here, but I am thinking that the majority of the people in your listening audience don't have a clue why that is a false and empty premise. And I am hoping that you could share maybe a capsule of information so that the people listening might have a taste of the truth instead of what our government is feeding them.
Tim, let me share with you one thing, sir. The meaning of democracy in America, it's totally different than the meaning of democracy in Japan, in Russia, in the Middle East, in South Africa. You know, you cannot make a black person white, you cannot make a white person black. Mainly when you have a nation that 1,250,000,000 Muslims all over the world. You know, you cannot, we are not Native Americans where you're going to brainwash people over time, you're going to take their religion out, you're going to take their language out, you're going to take their skin out. This does not happen in the Middle East. The people in the Middle East, their mentality is totally different. I'm going to give you an example. President Bush is dwelling about the word democracy in the Middle East. Well, democracy in the Middle East brought Hamas in Palestine. Now, damn if you do it, and damn if you don't do it. So why, when Hamas won by democracy, by the U.S. Bush administration philosophy, why they were condemned? That's a democracy in the Middle East. That's a democracy in Palestine. Hamas won by democracy. Why he condemned that? It's a big question to ask. Right?
Yes, and I do thank you for listening and responding.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Anytime, please. Let me just get one more.
Sure.
Joe, good evening. Hello.
Hi. I would like to go also talk about the intro of yours, if you don't mind. I have a bothered me for a while. Why is it okay for the U.S. to send weapons and money and American weapons to Israel, but it is forbidden for Syria and Iran to help Hezbollah defend themselves?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer for it. I think we are biased by nature. You are right. The U.S. government has been Bush just sent smart bombs to Israel a week ago. A smart bomb. I mean, we are in the middle of a conflict, and we want to help the Lebanese and we want to help the Israelis. The way you help the Lebanese and the Israelis by sending what we call American Bush smart bombs. Thank you. Do you have another question?
Yeah. Israel built many walls to protect themselves from, any defense. But, how will those walls help if Hezbollah is shooting missiles over the walls?
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, thank you. The wall that was built between the Palestinians and the Israelis was built, by the way, with American taxpayers, your money and my money. And it was built, actually you could see a picture of it there on the screen. It was built for the purpose of helping or saving the Israelis, the Jewish, the settlers, from attacks that comes from Palestinians. But what happened and what we discovered, by the way, in this Lebanese-Israeli conflict, that missiles are flying. You cannot, a wall can